Okay, so just about 7 years ago, this vehicle was brand new. We purchased it in late 2018 as a 2019 Ford Expedition Platinum two-wheel drive version. So this thing is loaded to the gills minus four-wheel drive. Next to it, we have a review vehicle. This is a 2025 GMC Yukon Denali Ultimate. This thing is loaded to the gills with four-wheel drive. These two vehicles are very similar in a lot of ways, right? They're both third-row, full-size SUVs, tremendous amount of power. This one by way of a 3.5-liter twin-turbocharged V6. This one by way of a 6.2-liter gas V8. But at the end of the day, they're both designed to kind of accomplish the same thing. And someone who has one of these who's looking for a brand new vehicle would probably look at a Yukon like this, or perhaps a new version of the Expedition. That said, when you're looking at how vehicles have changed and evolved and things have gotten larger and fancier and more technical, have they really changed from the core features that some of these previous generation high-end vehicles had? Now, this is something worth listening to, because if you're looking at a vehicle like this, you're going to spend for this $107,000+. When we bought this one, it was a little under $70,000. So the difference is pretty extreme. And at the time, again, minus two-wheel drive, this was the most well-equipped version of an Expedition you could buy. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the differences that have just come by way of evolution when you're looking at a super high-trim version of a vehicle and comparing it to another super high-trim version of a vehicle that's about 7 years older. So let's talk about it. Hang tight. I'll be right back. Okay, so as we look at both of these vehicles, my wife loves her 2019 Ford Expedition Platinum. She loves it, loves it, loves it. At first, we questioned if we wanted to wait for a four-wheel drive version, but we couldn't find one in the exact trim and color she was looking for, so we opted to give up that one specific thing, because this one had one feature she really was looking for, and that was the bench second row. So we didn't have captain's chairs in the back here, which is actually a really hard thing to find for a super high trim vehicle, because captain's chairs are typically what you're going to find, and getting a bench is difficult in a high trim. This one right here does have captain's chairs in the back, and this vehicle right here is also a super high trim vehicle. This is really the ultimate that you can get a GMC Yukon Denali in. And again, when we compare these two vehicles from the outside, they actually look kind of similar, right? The body lines look kind of similar. The stance looks kind of similar. The 24-inch wheels on here definitely make this one stand out a little bit more, but they kind of make this SUV look a little smaller because of them. Even though it's not, they kind of give it that appearance because the wheels are so large. If you look at the 22-inch wheels that came standard on the Expedition, the SUV just looks a little bit larger because the wheels are a little smaller. And it's kind of this weird optical illusion that messes with your brain, but if you look closely, you'll see that just a small difference in wheel diameter can make a really big difference in terms of the overall look of the vehicle. Now, we're not going to go into these vehicles and showcase a lot of detail about both of them, but what I will talk about are some of the evolutionary changes. First of all, this one came loaded with all the technology that you could get in 2019 on an Expedition. What did that include? It included a ton of stuff that is still actually considered optional in a lot of newer vehicles. First and foremost, massaging seats. So Ford Expedition with massaging seats was introduced, I believe, in the high trim models in 2018. In my Super Duty that I had in 2017, I also had the massaging seats, and I believe F-150 had them for a few years before that in their high trim vehicles. But this Platinum has massaging seats. Both front seats are massaging. Both front seats are loaded with all sorts of adjustment features, including ventilation and heat, which is also really nice. This vehicle also has massaging front seats. Now, the advancement, the evolution, is the fact that you have a lot more massaging options with these seats. This one's kind of like one setting. You can adjust the intensity up and down the back, but this one gives you all sorts of different types of massage features. So that's just something to keep in mind, the evolution. Now, when we talk about a technology package that this one comes with, this has the 8-inch navigation screen, which gives you basically the embedded Ford navigation, as well as the ability for you to connect to your Android phone or your Apple phone. So you have all those features, but it's an 8-inch screen. When we look at this vehicle, you have an over 16-inch screen to be able to access all that information, including the integrated maps that already come on the vehicle, as well as the ability to see Android Auto and Apple CarPlay and all the maps associated with those on the screen. But a much larger, much clearer and higher resolution screen with a lot more data on it. Now, that's not to say that this doesn't have a lot of data on it. You can still control a ton of things through that screen, including your full air conditioning and heating system. You can control everything going on in the back. You can control all of your vehicle settings. All of that go through that same screen. You just get a much larger, higher definition, clearer version with this vehicle right here that also looks fancier because the trends in terms of what interiors look like have definitely moved in a different direction with these two vehicles. Now, from a driving advancement perspective, believe it or not, this actually came with radar cruise control. It came with a lot of the features you might expect, such as blind spot detection, lane keeping, all of that stuff. This also has all of those features and some. This has Super Cruise, so this has the hands-free driving experience where you can take your hands and your foot off of the pedal, and this will keep you in your lane. It'll shift lanes if it needs to. You can even do it while you're towing. So when you look at the convenience features of driving, radar cruise control, and all of those safety things built in, again, this has all of that stuff plus Super Cruise. But for 2019, having some of those features that this one had were definitely considered to be a premium feature that you could get only on premium vehicles. And now a lot of those features that you get on this are standard even on the lowest end of vehicles, like radar cruise control. That's becoming more of a standard feature on just about everything, including our Subaru over there. So yeah, the advancement here from a driving perspective is the fact that it has the Super Cruise feature built into it. Now, one feature that this has that this definitely does not have is thermal night vision. Now that's a crazy one because I still am having a hard time figuring out when and how I would use it, but this does have thermal night vision in the front gauge cluster that you can turn on so you can see things in the dark, absolute dark, way ahead of you. And I guess that's good if you perceive that there could be something crossing the road and maybe your headlights just aren't reaching out that far, or you're on a ranch road or something like that and you want that type of technology. And it's not the first vehicle I've seen with it. The first one I saw was actually a Jeep Grand Wagoneer in their level 3 package, their highest trim package, that also had it, and it was actually a larger screen that you could see the thermal night vision on. But the fact is, that's a feature that wasn't even on the radar for this Expedition when we first bought it. Now, from a backing up perspective, they both have a lot of features that can get you into a parking spot. They both have parallel and perpendicular parking, and they just effectively get you into a parking spot if you have trouble doing it yourself. So both of these vehicles have it. This one's probably a little bit more intelligent with how it works, but this one works just fine for the one time we tried to use it. Another one is trailering technology. So this one has the Pro Trailer Assist feature built into it, so we can actually use this with the trailer to help you back up a trailer if you struggle. So folks who have this with maybe a travel trailer or a boat could use that feature to get their boat down a slip or backed into a spot, or they can look more like a pro, even though it's a system that a lot of people probably don't really use. And this Denali has that same feature. So you have the same capability to be able to back up trailers intelligently with this versus that. But it is technology that was around in 2019, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. From a headlight perspective, or actually from a light period perspective, they both have all LED lights. So the headlights, the high beam, the low beams, the fog lights, the turn signals, the accent lights, all of that stuff, completely LED on this Expedition, as are they on the GMC Denali. And I would expect that on most newer vehicles. But believe it or not, if you go to lower trim packages of either of these, you actually lose a lot of LED technology, which is kind of crazy. But from a super high premium trim perspective, every light on these is going to be LED. Now, some technology that was around, but not in Expedition specifically, but it is in Denali, is the air suspension. So this has adaptive air suspension that can raise or lower the vehicle, and it can adaptively adjust the suspension for different type of terrain, as well as just for easier, more convenient exit or entry into the vehicle. This never came with air suspension. You never had that as an option, though they both have the electric deploying running boards, which are really nice when you're getting into the vehicles. the suspension system on this definitely is more advanced than the suspension system on here. What is kind of interesting is the fact that GMC has not gone to some electrified or some turbocharged version of a V6 in this vehicle. They've kept their beefy V8s inside of here. They still even have the 3-liter Duramax diesel option that you can get in this, whereas the Expedition exclusively comes with the 3.5-liter V6 that's twin turbocharged. So that's a big difference in terms of how they apply power to the ground. They both have 10-speed automatic transmissions, but again, Ford has been refining the turbocharged V6 into a crazy powerful engine, whereas GMC has been sticking with what they know, and that's that 3-liter diesel, which is an amazing platform. I love that engine. Great fuel economy. We have it in our Denali Sierra pickup truck over there, and big V8s, the 6.2-liter V8, which is an absolute beast. They both have power lift gates, but they do things in a different way when it comes to that automatic opening feature. So with Ford, you wave your foot under the back and you can raise and lower the lift gate. And believe it or not, I don't like that because I've had it accidentally close on me when I'm just putting stuff in the back because I guess I'm too close to the sensor. Whereas GMC has an interesting feature that if you turn it on, if you're near the back tailgate or lift gate for more than like 3 seconds, it automatically starts lifting. And I don't like that either because sometimes I'm just walking around the back of the vehicle slowly and it causes the gate to open. So I've turned the feature off here, even though I can't turn the feature off on this one that opens or closes the tailgate with the sensor on the bottom. I wish I could. If I can, I haven't figured out how to do it. That said, I don't really care for either of them. I wish there was something a little nicer. I like what Toyota actually does with their tailgates, where they put a button on the side of the light on the Tundra and you just push that and it drops the tailgate. That would be a really cool feature to have on these SUVs, so you can open up the liftgate or close the liftgate with your elbow if you're carrying things or if your hands are full. They both have panoramic sunroofs. That's a feature that's been around for quite a while now. So this has the big panoramic sunroof. This has the big panoramic sunroof. I'm not a fan of sunroofs. My truck right in between has no sunroof, and I'm super happy that it does not have a sunroof because sunroofs lead to sunroof problems, and I do not want to have sunroof problems. And I don't want to have issues when it hails. I don't want to have issues where something could bust through. I don't want to have issues where the glass shatters. None of that stuff. And by not having a sunroof, I don't have those issues. They both utilize proximity key entrance, but they do it a little differently. With Ford, it's touch sensitive, it's capacitive. If I touch the inside of the handle, it's going to unlock the vehicle, and if I touch the little flat area on the outside of the handle, it's going to lock it. And it allows you to do it from all 4 doors, which I love that they do on many SUVs that they don't do on pickup trucks, unfortunately. So I have to unlock it from the front on a truck to get into the back, which is kind of inconvenient sometimes, especially if you got the kiddos and the family with you. GM does it a little differently. They put a little button that you can probably see right there on the door handles, and you have to press that button to lock or unlock the vehicle. I don't really mind that. I actually think that's a really great way of doing it because, believe it or not, if I'm standing next to this truck and I'm pressure spraying it, the doors are locking and unlocking just with the water making impact with the sensors on the handle. This one, you just don't have that problem because it's a physical button. You can probably seal this one up a little better so the electronics inside don't ever get wet or damaged versus this, which is more of a button again, but I still like the performance and I like how the button on the handle works with the GMC over the Ford. Now, we have had an opportunity to sit in a 2025 Ford Expedition King Ranch, and it was really, really nice. It was really amazing. The things that they do are really nice. However, I got to tell you that whenever we look at upgrading vehicles, it's hard to want to upgrade from this for my wife because it already has so many advancements. The big downfall of this is the screen size isn't huge. You don't have as much tech. You don't have as modern of an interior as you do with this vehicle or even the new Expedition, and you have to give up some of the cool features that are coming on these vehicles. But at the end of the day, though, the reason why it's so hard for her to find a replacement to this vehicle is simply because it's still very relevant. A lot of the features that this has are some features that you have to upgrade to a premium version of a new vehicle to have, and that's considering this vehicle is like 6.5, 7 years old. So that's the reason why it's been difficult for her to decide on a replacement vehicle. She can go to a cooler interior with a larger screen and a little bit more tech, but she's not jumping up to a tremendous amount more tech than what she already has. And because she already has massaging seats, navigation, all the automated liftgate features and all that, LED lights everywhere, the deployable side steps on it, and it has the bench seat in the back that she really likes, it's really hard for her to say, I want to spend an extra $30,000, $40,000 on a vehicle to get all the features I currently have, but in a newer design. So, you know, SUVs like this, they do evolve and they do definitely have newer technology and features and cool factor things, but it's not like pickup trucks where your towing numbers go up tremendously or your capabilities go up tremendously. It's usually just a few little knickknacks here and there. And at this point, I don't think that the Yukon has won our business. I don't think that that's the vehicle we would go with, because replacing this with this right now means that we're paying a lot more, but we're not getting a heck of a lot more other than a brand new vehicle that looks a lot different. So that's really what it comes down to. But leave your comments below. I would love to know what your thoughts are on this conversation. And if you feel that this has enough, the way it is here, to justify paying the extra money to replace what she already has and what she already loves. Again, drop a comment below. I'd love to know your thoughts. Anyways, guys, if you haven't had a chance, I'd really appreciate it if you took a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.